Hey, how's it going? My name's Subia and I made this video for you today to show you the only 3 tips that you'll ever need in order to learn how to change chords faster and smoother. So tip number 1 is going to be all about training your fingers to land in the right spots, because obviously we don't want our fingers to land in the wrong spots because that's going to make the chord sound bad and it's going to make us very unhappy guitarists. Tip number 2 is about the 2 things that you need to do in order to change chords smoother. And then finally, tip number 3 is going to be an exercise that's going to show you how to turn on autopilot. And what I mean by autopilot is it's going to show you how to make your chord changes into a reflex. That way you can make the changes fast enough in order to play them in the song. And this is really going to be one of the most important videos you ever watch. Because let's say that you want to play a song and there are 10 chord changes and you can make 9 of them. Well, that one chord change you can't make is going to ruin the whole song. You're not going to be able to play that song until you can make that final change. So that's why it's so important that you really get your chord changes down, that you have enough speed, and that they sound smooth. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing you need to do when learning the chord change is to train your fingers to land on the right spots. Now how you do that is you go very, very slow in between changing the chords, and you focus on accuracy and worry about speed later. The reason you want to worry about speed later is because if you go too fast, you're more likely to have your fingers land in the wrong spots and to train your fingers to land on the wrong spots. And we don't want to do that. We want to train our fingers to land on the right spots. So that's why you need to go slow. Now, how slow should you go? Well, that depends on your skill level as a player and the difficulty of the change that you're trying to learn. Just as a rule of thumb, you want to go as slow that you can make the chord change the overwhelming majority of the time. And to kind of give you an example of how slow you should go, I'm going to show you the speed that I went at when I was first learning chord changes. So, here we go. For this example, we're going to be going in between the C major chord and the D major chord. And I would just hold, start off on the C, and I would just strum, and then I would just pick up my fingers and go very slowly, making sure that all my fingers are landing on the right spot, and that I'm going very, very slow. And I think even when I was starting out, I think I went even slower than that. And it's really all about just getting your hand used to making the movement and getting used to just hitting on the right spots. So that's the first tip. As you can see, not only is going slow easier than going fast, but it's actually the fastest way to learn a chord change. And I know that sounds really ironic, but it's better to do one chord change really slow but right, as opposed to doing 3 chord changes fast and all of them wrong. Alright, so let's move on to the next tip, and I'm going to show you how to get smoother chord changes in that one. Okay, so to make smoother chord changes, you need to do 2 things. Even though I held up one finger, you still need to do 2 things. The first one is to have all your fingers move as a group, and the second thing is to slap them down all at the same time. What people tend to do when they're changing chords is they'll lead with one finger and then the rest of their fingers end up following, or they'll put 2 down as a group but the third one will lag behind, or the fourth one will lag behind. But what happens when you're playing at full speed is that your finger doesn't make it in time for your first stroke, and so instead of your D major sounding like this finger won't make it in time, and you could play an extra note that you didn't want to play, and it'll sound like this, which is a very ugly sound on your first stroke. Then finally your finger will catch up, and your second stroke will be the nice D major chord. But we don't want that. And also another thing that'll happen is your finger will almost make it, but it won't be fully pressing down, so you'll actually mute one of the notes that you wanted to play, and it'll sound like this, as opposed to sounding like the real D major, like that, which sounds a little more fuller and more of what we want. So to help you get your fingers moving as a group, and to help you get your fingers slapping down at the same time, that's why I created the 0 position technique. So to show you that right now, I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera view, that way you can better see what's going on. Okay, so right now, the position I'm in is the C major chord. And what you want to do for the zero position technique is you want to bring your hands up right above the fretboard like this, and make sure your fingers are curled, because that's just going to help you bring down your fingers properly, because you want them curled. That way you don't deaden any strings, unless you want to deaden the strings, but that's a whole different matter. So anyways, you bring it up to the zero position, which is your hand right above the fretboard, your fingers are curled. And this is not like a technical term in guitar or anything like the zero position. It's just something that I thought sounded cool, so that's why I call it that. Now what you want to do is you want to, for example, we're going to go to A minor right now. And what you want to do is you want to slowly bring your fingers down as a group. And then as you're bringing your fingers down, you want to adjust your fingers to the right shape. That way when they land, they all land at the same time. Sorry, my thumb was blocking that. They all land at the same time, and they all land on the right spot. So to go back, you would do the same thing, zero position, adjust your fingers as they're coming down, bring them down as a group, and then strike again. And this is really going to help train your fingers, because I know like a lot of people, when they change chords, they lead with one finger, then the rest follow. And that's how I started out, and it was very bad, and I actually had to relearn all the chords that I wanted to learn how to play with, training my fingers to come down all at the same time and to kind of make that shape. Now, one thing that other people have pointed out that really works for them when I teach it to them is they say they like to bring their hand up to the zero position, then they make the shape, then they bring it down. And that's totally fine too. You can do that if you prefer that, or you could, make the shape as you're coming down. But the important thing is just to come down, or to move your fingers as a group coming down, and then you make the shape and hit the right spots. So that's the zero position technique. And if you work through that doing really slowly, it should train your fingers to come down at the same time and really to slap it on the way that you need to slap on. So let's keep the momentum going. Let's go ahead and jump right into the third tip, which is turning autopilot on. All right, so let's keep the momentum going, and let's jump right into tip number 3, which is how to turn on autopilot. That way you can make chord changes as a reflex, meaning that you don't have to think about what your hands need to do, that in order to change chords, it'll just automatically do it on its own. And you need to be able to do this in order to play it fast enough for a song. Now, let's say that you've worked through the chord change, you feel really comfortable making it slowly, and your fingers are moving as a group, and you're slapping it down. Now, like I said, the next step is to really turn on that autopilot. And how you do that is by using this simple exercise I'm about to show you. And it's so simple, but highly effective. Doesn't need to be complicated, just has to work, right? And then I'm going to show you a tip right after that's really going to, when you combine these two together, it's really going to knock it out of the park for you. So let's get right into that exercise. All you need to do is this. That's it. You just switch constantly back and forth between the two chords you want to learn. And this really makes it so that it solidifies it in your muscle memory, and you can just make that chord change without thinking. Now here's the trick that you need to combine with it though. You need to do this in short intervals of 1 to 3 minutes, and then it's very, very important that you take a rest. The reason you want to take a rest is for 2 things. One, this isn't the most engaging exercise, and if you try to do this constantly for like 10 minutes, you're going to burn yourself out. The other reason, which is even more important, is when you take a rest, this helps your muscles absorb what you just did. So you'll do 1 to 3 minutes, then go practice something else for like 10, 15 minutes, or just put the guitar down in general and come back in like 15 minutes or 10 minutes. And do another interval of 1 to 3 minutes. And try to do this at least 3 times a day, maximum like 6 times a day. Because if you do it the maximum 6 times a day at 3 minutes, that's only 18 minutes of practice. Super easy to do. So one thing that I want to show you right now is, because obviously I had that C to D major chord change down, but I want to show you what it really looks like when you're going through this with something that you don't already have mastered. So this is one of the chord changes that I'm learning right now, and it's this weird little chord change up here, and I'm going to this one. So I've probably been working about this around 3 days, and as you can see, it's definitely not as fluid as I had my other chord changes down because I'm still trying to learn it. And on some of them, you can hear like a little bit of buzz where I'm not fully pressing down all the way. But that's what it really looks like when you're doing this. And keep in mind, I've been doing this for a while, so this comes a lot faster to me than it may come to you. But I think it's just important to see what it really looks like. You're not going to be perfect at this, but if you just keep going, and I know if I keep going on that chord change, eventually I'll be able to do it perfectly without having to think about it. So I have actually one more thing for you. So if you're committed to mastering your chord changes, that's really, really good, because chord changes are one of the key skills to learning how to play guitar. But if you really want to get to the point that you can play guitar, and that you can do cool things like play songs start to finish, then there are more skills that you need to learn in order to do that. For example, must skill learn number 1 is building up the dexterity with your fretting hand so you can effortlessly play up and down the fretboard. And really what we're talking about here is getting your fret hand to listen to your mind. So when your mind says, hey, go here or do this, your hand does it, and it's a very beneficial skill that you need to have in order to play guitar. And there are certain exercises that if you do them a certain way will in fact help you build up that skill so that your hand does listen to your mind. Must learn skill number 2 is mastering chord changes, but we already went over that in this video, and that was plenty of information to give you to the point that you can actually master your chord changes, but there are still a few more things that I could show you to help you out. Must learn skill number 3 is how to properly strum the strings up and down in time to a beat. This is also known as rhythm, and it is by far the most important skill to you being able to play guitar. So please, if you do anything I say, focus on learning your rhythm. And the reason why I say that is because it is such a large component of what makes up a song. It's actually kind of ridiculous. When you think about what you need to do in order to play a song, all you have to do is play a certain combination of notes and chords played to a certain combination of different rhythmic notes. That's why it's so important that you learn to play the different rhythmic notes like quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, and triplets, because that takes care of the second part of the equation for you. And you could probably see what we're doing here. We're working on your ability to change chords and the dexterity of your hands, and that's going to take care of the first half of the equation for you. And then we're also working on your rhythm, which is going to take care of the second half of the equation. So once you combine all these 3 skills together, guess what you get? You get all the skills that you need in order to play a song, and if you can play a song, you can play the guitar. Now, if you really want to supercharge your results, one of the things that you have to do in order to start seeing results with guitar is to focus on this important stuff and practice the unimportant stuff less. And the reason why is because it's not about how much you practice or how intense you practice. It really is about what you practice and how you practice it that's going to make the difference in whether or not you see results with guitar. For example, I used to spend about 2 hours a day practicing scales, and it really didn't get me any results, but when I shift my focus, I could spend 30 minutes practicing this stuff, and all of a sudden I started seeing results and becoming a better guitar player, and the grass started to grow greener. I don't know how those two are related, but it happened. If this sounds like a good plan of attack to you to learn guitar, then you're going to love my product, Exalted Guitar. Exalted Guitar teaches you what to practice and step by step how to practice it in order to learn the physical skills that you need in order to be able to play the guitar, so that you can start doing cool stuff like learning how to play songs start to finish, or learning and mastering new skills and techniques in order to become a better lead guitar player, a blues master, a country star, a rock god, or whatever your guitar dream is. Doesn't matter. It all starts with the first step, and that's getting the physical skills to playing guitar handled. So here's how Exalted Guitar is going to help you do that. When we go over building up your dexterity, I'm going to show you cool thing number 1, which is an exercise to build up the hand-to-brain connections that you need in order to be able to play up and down the fretboard effortlessly. And then cool thing number 2, I'm going to show you how to combine this dexterity exercise with a rhythm exercise, and this is going to help sync up your hands. That way you're always hitting the right note at the right string at the right time. So when we move over to rhythm, I'm going to show you cool thing number 1, which is step-by-step how to play all the different rhythmic notes like quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, and triplets, so you can properly strum the guitar up and down in time to these different rhythmic notes. Then we'll move on to cool thing number 2, which is how to feel a beat so that you can play with others. When others play, they're putting it on a certain beat, and if you want to be able to play with them, you have to be able to pick up this beat so that you can jump right in with them. Then cool thing number 3 is the process that you need to do in order to play these different rhythmic notes that I was talking about earlier on autopilot. And sub cool thing number 1 for this is you want to be able to do this so that you don't have to worry about what your rhythm hand has to do and it's just going to move on its own. Sub cool thing number 2 for this is going to allow you to free up your mind, and it's going to give you the ability to add more creativity to your playing. And sub cool thing number 3 for this one is it's going to show you how to build up speed while keeping control. It's pretty cool stuff. So finally, once you get to a certain point, then you're ready to start learning songs, and then that's when I'm going to teach you cool thing number 1,000,000, and that's how to read tabs, and I'm going to show you exactly what the tab is telling your hands how to do. For example, I'm going to point out, right here it's telling you to play quarter notes, and right here it's telling you to play eighth notes for when you change chords to this chord, and cool things like that. Then cool thing 1,000,001, I'm going to show you in video how to play what we just learned in that tab, so that way you can really get it. And finally, final cool thing, you're going to notice that in those videos I use a certain process, and I picked up this process from a pro guitar player. He had it in his tutorial, and he just so happened to go through the process that he uses to learn songs, and I adopted it and I've used it ever since because of one reason: it simply just gets results. Now you're more than welcome to go out and try to find this information on your own, and one of the cool things about Exalted Guitar though is everything is structured and the lessons are designed to build off of each other, so that all you have to do is watch video 1, then watch video 2, and then watch video 3. Well, of course, before you watch video 2, you want to do what I actually say to do in video 1. I mean, that's very important. Let's not leave that out. But it's structured in that way that just makes it simple for you, so it's pretty cool. Normally, Exalted Guitar sells for $79, but if you order through the special link right below this video, you can get it today for $49. And we don't offer this price anywhere else besides at the end of our videos, and that's not every single time. If you try to go to the main website, DigitalFrets.com, you won't be able to find it anywhere for this price that I'm offering you right now. And if you're not satisfied with Exalted Guitar for any reason whatsoever, it could just be that you stubbed your finger when you went to hit the play button and now you're mad and you want a refund. It doesn't matter what your reason is. As long as you give us that reason within the first 90 days after you purchase, we'll send you out a full refund, so there's no risk to you. Because we strongly believe that, if this product doesn't live up to your expectations, that you should get your money back. And to get a refund is very simple. All you have to do is go to our main website, DigitalFrets.com, click on the Contact Us link, which is usually located at the bottom of the page. Then click on the Request Refund link, which should be dead in the center, and then follow the instructions and we'll get the refund out to you as fast as we can. As a reminder, the only way to get Exalted Guitar for $49 is through the link below this video. Eventually the sale will end, and we don't tell people the exact date that this sale will end, because every time we do, we find that we always get flooded with emails of people asking if they could still get it for the special sales price a couple days after the end date. And then we have to send out a whole bunch of emails saying that we're sorry, that the sale is over, and that they could purchase it for the regular price. So the sale could end tomorrow, or it could end from a week from now. It all depends on when you're viewing this. So here's what you get if you order today. You get Exalted Guitar, which is a system that's going to show you exactly what to practice and step-by-step how to practice it in order to learn the physical skills that you need in order to be able to play guitar, so that you can do cool things like play songs start to finish, or just work on becoming a lead guitar player or a blues master, rock god, country star, etc. And you can get it today if you order through the link for $49 instead of paying the regular price of $79. Also, if you change your mind for any reason within the next 90 days after purchase, all you have to do is contact us and request a refund, and we'll get that full refund sent out to you as soon as we can. All right, thank you for your time, and I hope you make the decision to purchase an Exalted guitar, because I know it's going to save you so much time and get you to your guitar dreams faster. And I really wish I had something like this when I was starting out playing guitar. I'm sorry, I'm babbling. Have a good night.